I'm Khyra Steiner, and you're listening to Elaborate with K. Elaborate with K. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Elaborate with K. So today's episode is going to be about not knowing what you want to do. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, full transparency, I had already previously started recording this episode and I just didn't like it. It was a different topic. It was still, as I was speaking and going into it, I was still trying to decide what exactly I wanted to talk about. And sometimes that happens. I feel like I don't always have a really detailed outline or script for a lot of the episodes. Usually it's just an idea and I kind of just word vomit whatever I'm thinking about and however it, spirals out of my brain. And then other times, when I'm doing like a list or something, I will write a couple of notes or key points that I want to make sure that I hit. But honestly, like I said, a lot of times it is me just coming up with a topic, an overarching topic, and we go from there and I just see where I end up. But today, I don't know. I came up with a topic, and I'm sure I'll do it in another episode, so I won't spoil it for you. But it just wasn't really clicking today. So instead, we're going to talk about not knowing what you want to do, which is okay. I think sometimes it's fine to just sit back and let life. So yeah, that's kind of the theme for today's episode. I guess I'll just update. It'll be an update episode. It'll talk about whatever's going on. I don't really know. Today I actually met up with one of my friends today. She's actually my roommate freshman year. Amazing girl. I love her so much. And we just have had really busy schedules and we haven't really had a chance to, catch up, and we try to talk or catch up and have at least 1 or 2 days each semester where we're just like catching up with each other. She actually went abroad, so we didn't have a chance to fully discuss her experience being abroad. And then again, like I said, we've both just been really busy, so we wanted to get a chance to kind of catch up and talk to each other. And it was so nice to just, reminisce. Like I said, she was my roommate freshman year. And so being able to really connect with her and look back and see like how far we've come, because we came in together first week of school, weekend before school started. Like, wow, can't believe we're here. And so for us to now be seniors in college is truly like a crazy surreal thought and something to think of. And we're like, oh my god, like it's crazy that like time just flew by so fast. And we were talking about work and like careers and everything. And this is something similar to what I touched on in the last episode of making your college decision. Is we were talking about how, when you make your decision on what you want to do for college or what you want to do for what you think you want to do for the rest of your life, right? When we made it when you are graduating high school, like what you want to do, what you want to study for college. And so when I did that, I was 17 years old. And now at 21 years old, obviously I'm a different person. I just have different experiences. My mindset has changed. I've just learned a lot more stuff. Like I've met way more new people, started new hobbies. My fashion sense has changed, like all of the above. And it's crazy to think that like 17-year-old me was kind of planning out and trying to imagine what 21-year-old me would like and enjoy and like what I would want to be doing with my life. And I feel really lucky because I do still love the career path and the area of study that I chose at that age. But I think that, it's also okay if you have absolutely no idea what you want to do and you come in undeclared. I know so many people that came into school with one major or thinking that they wanted to do this one thing, and through, taking the different classes and learning about the industry that they thought they wanted to go into, they realize like, oh wait, that's not really what I want to do. This doesn't bring me as much joy. Like this isn't something that I could see myself doing long term. And they've pivoted, whether they have, changed majors, whether they've just figured out a way to kind of reframe their current major into a different lens of what is more interesting to them, or, whether they've, it's just, there are plenty of opportunities. And then something else that, I was thinking about was the idea of, graduating school. And I think I've talked about this before too, but, when you're hitting those like cornerstone, milestone transition periods in your life, is suddenly people want to ask you like everything about your future, and it seems as though the rest of the world expects you to have absolutely everything figured out, and you're like, I don't know. I know, like, when it's around this time and you're making your college decisions and everyone's asking you like, oh, where are you going, what are you going to study, like what's happening, what are you doing, blah blah blah. And obviously, yes, like at some point you do have to make that decision, you do have to commit somewhere at some point, but it can also be a lot to like have so many people asking you like, what are you going to do, what are you going to do, what are you going to do. Same thing with like, when you start school, when you start college, everyone's like, oh, like, what are you studying? What are you studying? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Or you meet new people and they hear that you're in college. It's always like, oh, like, what are you studying? What are you going to do? What are you planning on doing after college? Like, what are your plans after graduation? And, I'm guilty of it too. I'm sure everyone's guilty of it. I've talked to my friends and we ask each other, like, oh, like, what are your plans after college? Like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to move home? Are you going to stay here? Are you going to move across the country to a different country? Like, what's the plan? And the thing that I've gathered from talking to so many of my friends and teammates and classmates and everything about it, whether it's your plans for like your career and the rest of your life, or your plans for the summer, or your plans for next week, next month, what you want to do for your birthday, what you're going to have for dinner, is most people just don't know. Right? Like, I think that realistically, in the grand scheme of things, we don't know a lot more than we do know. Hey, does that make sense? Yeah, we know a lot less than we don't. You get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, it's okay to not know things. If you showed me a specific species of fish, of like a random fish that you pulled from the ocean, I probably couldn't tell you what it is. I don't know. If you ask me what I'm gonna have for lunch tomorrow, I have no clue, right? Like, I have no clue what I'm gonna eat for lunch tomorrow. I have no clue what I'm gonna have for dinner tomorrow. Do I have any idea where I'm gonna be in exactly 10 years? Absolutely not. And I think that that is very much okay. Um, and I think it's important to not put too much pressure on yourself to have your entire life figured out, like right now. Especially if you're listening to this and you're still in school, you just finished school, you're about to start school, you're still, whatever it is, like, it is okay to not have your entire life figured out. If you just went through a career change or a life change, you're moving, you just went through a break, like whatever it is, it's okay if everything isn't all picture perfect planned out. Like, that's not exactly realistic. I think about whenever you go to an event or like a conference or a party or a trip or something, right? And you make your itinerary and you have a schedule and you're like, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Does it ever go exactly to the second how you're expecting it to? No. Even like my class schedule, right? Like, I have class at this time, and this time. Okay, I have a class at 11:30, I have a class at 1, I have a class at 4 p.m. My 1 o'clock class might not always start at exactly 1 o'clock. We might start at 1:03, 1:05, 1:10, 1:20, I don't know. Class could be canceled, you know? Class could go over the allotted time. Like, there is so much unknown in the world and in your day-to-day life. And I think it's not fair to put the pressure on yourself to know exactly how every single thing is going to turn out. Now, that being said, I do think that it's important and it's good to have goals and dreams, but I think it's important to also not let them define you to the point where it's debilitating, if that makes sense, right? Like, I think, if you want to if your life goal is to learn how to surf, then learn how to surf. You know, you can take the steps there, but don't let that consume you to the point where like it's all you can think about, to where you're not taking care of yourself, to where you're not, doing other things that you need to be doing. And it's, digging into your health and wellness and all of that, right? Like, I think that if you have the goal of being a professional in whatever industry you're in, yes, take the steps to get there. Take those interviews, send those cold emails, ask for coffees, ask for chats, ask for follow-ups, tours, interviews, submit the application. It's okay if you stay up late one night because you're working on an application for a company that you absolutely would love to work for. Like, go for it, right? No one's stopping you. But if you're also like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not sure, like maybe I want to do this, like that's okay too. And I think that I was talking to one of my friends, and she was telling me how she came into school studying one thing, but now that she's gone through the classes and everything, like she likes it, but she's not sure that it's what she wants to do for the rest of her life. And she's like, oh well, I think I might want to try this, I think I might want to try this, and I think I might want to live in like all of these different places. And same thing, if you guys have ever seen those TikTok trends where it's people like, oh, I'm deciding between like all of the different personalities and like future me's that I envision are at war, and you're talking, it's like someone that wants to live like in a very secluded area in the mountains, and then someone that like wants to live in the middle of a city, and then someone that wants to live in the countryside, and someone that wants to live like by the beach or by the lake. And it's like all of these different interests that you have. And it I think that the way that our society and just expectations and like culture, pop culture, online, internet, everything is built is like everyone expects you to kind of pick your one lane that you're going to be in and stay in that lane for the rest of your life. And realistically, like that's just not how the world works. There's so much other stuff, happening and going on, and like you can get a spark of inspiration and motivation to completely change your life around at any time, and that's totally fine. And go for it, So anyway, back to what I was originally saying is I was talking to my friend about these different things that she wanted to do, and I'm going to share what I suggested to her. I'm not going to call it advice because I've never tried this, so I cannot personally vouch for or against it and say whether or not it works effectively. And obviously, there are stipulations in terms of funding and visas and just paperwork and like logistics and all of that. But putting that out of your mind for a second, my suggestion was to give yourself like a year or 2 years if you're deciding between like these different things that you want to do. If it's reasonable and you have the ability and the resources to do, is give yourself a year, 2 years, whatever it is. And within that time frame, give yourself, I told my friend 3 months. Break it down into 3 month periods. You can do 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. I was just trying to think of like an even number. But give yourself like a certain amount of time to try new things, So I think this is especially good if you, like I said, if you're in that transitional period. Gap years were created for a reason, for people to, take time to discover yourself and figure out like what you want to do and who you are, and just learn more about yourself and the world and the country and all of that. So yes, my suggestion was to give yourself a year and break it up into 3 month periods. And let's say you're deciding between whether you want to be like an astronaut or a chef or like a fashion designer or like a photographer. Right? I don't know why. Okay, maybe not astronaut. Well, maybe astronaut. I don't know. Right? And so these are the 4 things that you're deciding between. Okay, give yourself 3 months, right? And so you say, for 3 months, I'm going to study photography. I'm going to practice photography. I'm going to live in whatever city or whatever place you associate with photography if you have the funds for that. And you're like, I'm going to go to the city and I'm going to become a wedding photographer. Right? Do that for 3 months. See how it works out. Then spend another 3 months doing I forgot what I said. Oh, a chef, spend another 3 months, maybe you get a job at a restaurant or an internship, you follow someone around, you start off as like an assistant or something, or you take cooking classes, you figure out which type of cuisine you like, and you're working in a big name restaurant that has like a whole wide variety of food, or a food hall or something like that, and you're just surrounding yourself with food. You want to be an astronaut, maybe you go shadow someone at NASA and you just spend 3 months learning about space and learning about the experience of being an astronaut, and you go to space camp. Or what was the other one? Is astronaut, chef, photographer. What else did I say? I don't know. Maybe you want to be a teacher, right? Maybe you spend 3 months teaching or volunteering at a school, and you just what I'm saying is to give yourself this little bit of time and pour into it, pour into whatever you're deciding between. And then at the end of, the 3 months, it could be 6 months. At the end of, it could even be 1 month, and you're like, oh, this is what I want to do. Or you decide you're like, this is not for me, and you switch it up, right? And at the end of that 1 year period, if there was any specific industry or job that you're like, oh, like I could really see myself doing this, or I want to go back to this, like this was a great experience, like I really enjoyed that, whatever it is, whichever one you're thinking about you feel drawn to most, like maybe that's the one that you give it a try for longer than 3 months. And if none of them speak to you like that, that's okay too. Maybe those just aren't the direction and the path that you're meant to take, and you go and you find something new to do. I think that don't limit yourself to what you want to do based on what you think you should do, if that makes sense. Like I totally understand, sometimes life be life and and sometimes you have to take a step back from your passion, or you have to take a step towards something just to keep yourself afloat or to help take care of a few things, and like that's totally fine and that's okay, and it's life. But if ever you have the chance and the opportunity, don't hold yourself back from the possibility of something that you want to do just because you're scared, or you feel like you shouldn't do it, because at the end of the day, like what if that is what you're meant to do, and what if it absolutely changes your life, right? Like I like to think about things in the most positive way of like, you send an application, you apply to a job or a school, and you're like, oh my gosh, what if they love me, like what if they hire me, like you think about that, like just the best case scenario. And if it doesn't happen like that, then it doesn't happen and it wasn't meant to be. But you'll never know whether or not it was meant to be, and you'll never get that satisfaction that you may get if you don't give yourself the chance to do it. So it is totally okay to not know what you want to do. You don't have to know, and just give yourself the space and the chance to try out any and everything you want as long as you can. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening and watching to this week's episode, and I'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye. And yeah, talk to you next Sunday.